While we are looking at the mountain of arts and entertainment, I could not help but take time to deal with this breaking cultural story. We're all aware of Walt Disney and the empire that he built in the entertainment mountain. Most of us grew up with Disney, and parents were able to trust the Disney brand to be wholesome. Well, unfortunately, those days are over. Because sin is constantly progressing and moving towards death, hell, and destruction, virtually nothing remains innocent. Well, Disney is no exception to that. While there are many amazing qualities in Walt Disney and the empire that he built, like all things, it has become corrupted by wicked people with a satanic agenda. Now, let me pause for a minute and explain something. When I say a person is wicked, it is because the Bible calls them wicked. This wickedness began right after the fall of Adam and Eve and can be seen in the first murder when Cain killed his brother Abel. But as men and women multiplied, the Bible says, Genesis 6:5, and God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. So this explains the sin nature and its effect upon culture. So because wickedness is in people, they do wicked things. The definition of wickedness is wicked, evil, or morally bad in principle or practice. So God considers a person who is immoral to be wicked. Well, Disney is filled with wicked, that is, immoral people that want to pervert your children and capture them for the kingdom of darkness. But don't take my word for it. Let's examine the words of Disney executives.
I'm here as a mother of two queer children, actually, one transgender child and one pansexual child, and also as a leader. And that was the thing that really got me, because I have heard so much from so many of my colleagues over the course of the last couple of weeks in open forums and through emails and phone conversations. And I feel a responsibility to speak, not just for myself, but for them, to all of us. We had an open forum last week at 20th where, again, the home of really incredible, groundbreaking LGBTQIA stories over the years, where one of our execs stood up and said, we only have a handful of queer leads in our content. And I went, what? That can't be true. And I realized, it actually is true. We have many, many, many LGBTQIA characters in our stories, and yet we don't have enough leads and narratives in which gay characters just get to be characters, and not have to be about gay stories. And so that's been very eye-opening for me. And I can tell you, it's something that I feel perhaps had this moment not happened, I, as a leader, and me as my colleagues, would not have focused on. And going forward, I certainly will be more so. I know that we will be, and I hope this is a moment where, the 50% of the tears, sorry, are coming. We just don't allow each other to go backwards.
Last summer, we removed all of the gendered greetings in relationship to our live spiels. So we no longer say ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We've provided training for all of our cast members in relationship to that. So now they know it's hello everyone or hello friends. We are in the process of changing over those those recorded messages. And so many of you are probably familiar when we brought the fireworks back to the Magic Kingdom, we no longer say ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we say dreamers of all ages. And so I love the fact that it's opened up the creativity, the opportunity for our cast members to look at that. We have our cast members working with merchandise, working with food and beverage, working with all of our guest facing areas where perhaps, we want to create that magical moment with our cast members, with our guests. And we don't want to just assume because someone might be in our interpretation, maybe presenting as female, that they may not want to be called princess. So let's think differently about how do we really engage with our guests in a meaningful and inclusive way that makes it magical and memorable for everyone.
Yeah, I've had the privilege of working with the Moon Girl team for the last 2 years, and they've been really open to exploring queer stories. And I'm on the production side. Part of the work that I feel like I can put in is making sure that we take place in modern day New York. So making sure that that's like an accurate reflection of New York. So I put together like a tracker of our background characters to make sure that we have like the full breadth of expression. And we got into a very similar conversation, Karey, of like, oh, all of our like gender nonconforming characters are in the background. And so it's not just a numbers game of how many LGBTQ plus characters you have. We got the further, the more centered a story is on a character, the more nuanced you get into their story. And especially with like trans characters, you can't see if someone is trans. There's not one way to look trans. And so kind of the only way to have these like canonical trans characters, canonical asexual characters, canonical bisexual characters is to give them stories where they can like be their whole selves.
It's like, I love Disney's content. I grew up watching, all of the classics. They have been a huge, like, informative part of my life. But at the same time, like, I worked at small studios most of my career, and I'd heard, you hear whispers. Like, I'd heard things like, oh, they won't let you show this at a Disney show. And I'm like, okay. So I was a little, like, sus when I started. But then my experience was bafflingly the opposite of what I had heard on my little pocket of like, Proud Family Disney TVA. The showrunners were super welcoming, Meredith Roberts, and like our leadership over there has been so welcoming to like my like not at all secret gay agenda. And so like I feel like I felt like it was, I mean, like maybe it was that way in the past, but I guess like something must have happened in the last like they're turning it around, they're going hard. And then all that like momentum that I felt, like that sense of, I don't have to be afraid to like, let's have these two characters kiss. Let's in the background, like I was just wherever I could, just basically adding queerness to like, if you see anything queer in the show, I'm Proud Family. But like, I just was like, no one would stop me and no one was trying to stop me.
So, from their very own mouths, you can see that they want to corrupt our children by introducing sexual perversion to them during their formative years when they are innocent. They want to do this by peppering in wicked, that is, immoral content. They are like ravening wolves, and their prey are your children. Now, you must understand, wicked people do wicked things. The reason why the mountain of arts and entertainment is so pervasively wicked is because it is being ran by people who are morally bankrupt. According to the Bible, anyone who believes immorality is good will bring wickedness to everything that they touch. This is why you can never allow wicked people to rule over you or have a place of influence over you or your family. So, because Disney's leaders are morally bankrupt, which means the company can no longer be trusted, it has become the enemy of the kingdom of heaven, as well as the enemy of God-fearing parents. So, are you outraged by this and compelled to take a stand against God's enemy? Or is this no big deal? If it's no big deal, then you will side with and support God's enemy. Sadly, this is where many so-called Christians are. They agree with and support wicked, that is, immoral people in their hostility towards God. So, beloved, who will you stand with? What team are you on? Are you on God's side or Satan's?